Okay, great. So, we talked a little bit before. I'm going to introduce myself again, just so everyone knows. My name is Richard Lee. I'm a retired immigration officer. I worked in fraud detection and national security. Uh, Retired about 3 years ago. I still kind of do some of this stuff just to try to help people. I do these videos for educational purposes and also to hopefully get some awareness of what people are going through with immigration and some of the fraud. And I'm here with you today. Would you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Anthony Hansen.
All right. Okay, Anthony. One other thing I like to say is I like to do these for education. I do these videos for educational purposes and also, like I said, for to hopefully bring awareness. Are you okay with me videotaping this and putting it on YouTube?
Yes, sir.
Great, wonderful. All right. So why don't you just I'm going to let you go. You just tell me about your story and what happened, and I may interject every now and then. So
Okay.
how did you meet your spouse, and how did this great debacle get started?
So in November or actually October 2011, I saw
Mhm.
an advertisement for a website on a dating website. They were advertising for another dating website. So I thought, I'll just check it out. Didn't
Yeah,
really think much of it. Wasn't really planning to meet a spouse or anything.
yeah.
Towards the end, I only had a 1 month membership at ChinaLoveMatch.net.
Mhm.
Towards the end of the membership, actually on November 15th, 2011, I got a message.
Mhm.
Um, from my ex-spouse, Yuting. She had sent me a message,
Mhm.
and then a few days later, we started talking on an app called QQ.
Mhm.
And then, we talked back and forth, and then we talked about meeting.
Yep.
She was very insistent that we meet. Apparently, one of the statements that she had made was when we first met that she explained to me that 6 months to meet her if I wanted to date her. She also told me during that time frame that she
Mhm.
was in an online relationship with another U.S. citizen for a year and a half prior to meeting me.
Mhm.
That didn't work out so well. So she broke up with him and started talking to me shortly afterwards. We talked about meeting up in March of 2012.
Okay.
Well, before we met up, she had mentioned on January 30th, 2012, that she asked if I can apply for the K-1 visa for her. I
Okay.
told her, sure, if everything goes well, we'll go ahead and apply for it. I didn't really think twice
Before you
about it.
guys even actually met in person,
Yeah,
she already knew what visa she had to apply for before you
yeah.
even met. So yeah,
That was the first I ever heard of it, but I was like,
yeah,
sure.
sure. No, yes. Yeah.
Didn't think twice about it.
I mean, that's a very good point because American citizens don't know this, and all the immigrants know all this stuff. They know
Right,
they're ready to go, especially the scammers, though. So,
right.
uh, so, so in January she said that, and then you went to see her. When did you go to see her?
I went to see her in mid-March for
Okay,
about a week,
okay,
maybe a week to a week and a half, but I met in Guangzhou, and then we went to
Guangzhou. Yep.
Sanya. We were there, and then I went back to Guangzhou and I flew back to the US.
Okay. And, okay. And then from
And
the time you flew back to the US, that was still in March. How did the conversation go after that? What was
so initially it went well, but then we almost had broke up because I caught a STD from her, chlamydia,
Mhm.
and I had some suspicions about the whole thing. And then I started questioning her about the green card.
Yeah.
And this was like late April, beginning May.
Mhm.
But then she convinced me that, this isn't about the green card. And, I didn't, she didn't really give me all the details about the STD. She just kept saying it was, I got it from the toilet or whatever. I said, no, I got it from you. But I didn't really know her background
Yeah.
with another job that she had.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah. What
kind
was
of,
the other, I mean, what was the other job that you found out?
so when I was applying for the fiance visa, we had to submit all her jobs. One of them was something with massages,
Yeah.
which like a foot massage place. And, I was just thinking what I see here in the US. I didn't realize what a foot massage means in China.
Yeah.
And I had someone actually call over there and they were actually trying to figure out like the women workers that work there. They just told them they normally stay for 2 or 3 months at a time. They just go in and out. And I was looking at some online forums that I
Mhm.
had paid someone to look up for me, and they found out that, people were looking for sex over there.
Yeah. Now, this was after the marriage, though, right?
No, this was after I got my normant and I was trying to submit all the evidence to DHS. I found all this afterwards, but that should have, had I knew that beforehand, I would have knew why I got the social media.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I wanted him to understand that you didn't know this when you're filing the fiance visa and all
No,
that.
I
This
didn't
is
know
what
any
you
of
found out later.
this.
But
This was
yeah,
all later when I did my true background check, but
you're,
then I was just kind of blindsided by
oh,
everything. I
you're
was
in
just,
love, man.
yeah,
You know, we trust people. That we have to be able to
right.
trust it. So anyway, so you came back home. Who did she talk to you about getting the K-1 visa again? Was there any pressure to do that or?
There
Uh,
was, and in fact, not just from her, but from her sister. Because when I was originally trying to get, I was going to end our relationship at the end of April, beginning of May. Her sister was also sent me an email to try to get back with her, and there was a little bit of pressure.
yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
I decided to get back with her, and
Yeah.
then we met one more time in August. Well,
Did you
I
go
got
there in
back with
August?
her,
You went
but
there in August or?
yeah, August 2012. But before we met, I think I went to already go contact a lawyer about, filing for a K-1 visa, and then we
Okay.
finally met August. We met a second time in August 2012.
Okay. Okay. So you got an attorney to file the K-1 for you?
Correct.
Did you? Okay. And what did the attorney tell you about it? Did he that you had to do what's called an I-134 affidavit support, not an I-864. It's usually overseas you do an I-134.
Right.
Or said S-134. Um, so did he tell you about the affidavit of support or being responsible for her financially? Did he talk to you about any of that?
I'm not sure if he talked to me. I do remember reading the document, something about you're responsible for them up to 10 years, but
Yeah.
I don't recall if he told me or if it was me reading the documents. Because I mean, for
Okay.
the most part, I only got to see the attorney one time. And it was
Mhm.
actually the main attorney. It wasn't even the one who worked my case. He had me working with the paralegal the whole time. They would give me documents, but I was pretty good about reading the documents. But I do remember
Okay.
something about
Good.
being responsible.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So you filed the I-129F, which is the fiance visa form. And then from the time you filed it, I'm assuming you filed it before you went back to China the second time. Had you filed it before that or after that?
I think I already started the process, but it wasn't filed till afterwards
Okay.
because I remember they were asking me for some information for the visa,
Hmm.
and I was trying to get everything for them.
Yeah.
The thing I was working a full-time job and I was also going to school at night. So, I mean,
So,
at school during the day and working at night. So I only had limited time to work each time. So I believe it was afterwards when I finally
okay.
got it filed.
Yeah. So you got it filed, and then when did the visa was approved? When did she come into the United States?
It was August. Let me get you the exact date. She came to the US on August 21st, 2013.
And when did you guys get married?
August 31st,
Right,
2013.
within the 90 days, right?
Right.
And so then
And
I think you told me that you lived together from August of 2013 until January of 2015, right?
right.
Okay. What happened? What was it like during that time of being married, living together and being married together? Was there any issues or
There was small issues, but like nothing like major. It wasn't like she wasn't the argument type. It
okay,
was just what really caught me off guard January 2nd.
okay.
So it really
So
caught
you weren't
me.
fighting and or she wasn't was she being did you have any suspicions? Did things
No,
it was
that
perfectly
was the
fine?
thing though.
Yeah. So
She
yeah.
played it off till the end, so that's why it caught me really by surprise.
So what happened on January? You said January the 2nd?
Correct.
What happened on January the 2nd?
So I went to work that morning and then I got a call. I'm not sure if they left the voice message first, but from the police.
Hmm.
And then he asked me to come down.
Hmm.
So the police officer that called me, I went down there back to my house. I left to work. It was him. He was talking to me, and then there was a group of other police talking to my ex.
Yep.
Interesting enough, that police officer, he didn't believe her, and he was trying to get the other police officers to say, "Hey, nothing happened. Let's leave."
Hmm.
So they called the DA's office,
Hmm.
but the DA, I guess he took the side of the other police. And I think the police that was talking to me,
Hmm.
because my story was consistent, hers wasn't. But the other police officers, I didn't get to speak to them. Had I got to speak to them, they probably would have thought my story was more consistent. But because I didn't speak with them,
Yeah.
they took her side and
Yeah.
ended up arresting me.
Yeah. Jesus. So you ended up going to jail
Yeah, for one night.
for one night. What did she say you did?
Well, she said I was hitting her that day, but she also said I was hitting her in September as well as November
Okay.
of 2014.
Okay. Did she have any marks on her when they came?
No.
No, no, no marks. Okay. So they took you to jail for the day. And then what happened with that case? What happened? Did you go to court? Did they convict you of battery? What happened?
So I went to court.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why the court case took forever is they were trying to get the 911 recording.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, they got it, and then I was assigned to a new prosecutor. She looked at all the evidence. She even listened to the recording, and she
Mm-hmm.
flat out did not believe any of her story one bit.
Yeah.
I remember my attorney said every time she would meet with her that the prosecutor would actually roll her eyebrows about the whole case.
Yeah.
So the prosecutor wanted to drop the entire case, but she had mentioned that it looks bad when the so-called victim is willing to testify, but you still drop the case.
Yeah.
So they had I think it was the fourth time they had another investigator contact her, but after that they just decided to drop the case. They just made me take an online anger management course so
Yeah.
the judge would be willing to drop the case.
Okay. So they didn't make you take an anger management class because they thought you were angry and vicious. They thought that you did it just to so the judge would get rid of the
Drop it.
case. But did you ever hit her?
No,
Did you ever yell at her?
not really yell. I mean, we had some small arguments, but like I
No, that's
said, she
okay.
wasn't the argument type.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like,
Big.
like if you're with the argument
You
type,
had
first you raise your
marital.
voice, the next one raise the voice higher, and it goes that. But the old one's not the argument type. Our voices never really raised.
So you had normal marital disagreements.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. Which somehow could be in the service could construe that as abuse. But my God, every marriage is abusive then because everybody gets in arguments. It's disgusting because my wife and I don't agree with on things sometimes. That doesn't make us abusive to each other. Um, and one of the things being married is I've understood a long time ago that no matter what we argue over, at the end of the day, she's right. And
right.
so that's just the way it goes. But yeah, you're not allowed to be angry. I told you this that when someone's treating you really bad and doing horrible things to you, for some reason, the courts and DHS says you can't be angry. If you're angry, somehow you're a mean, abusive person. That's insane. The whole concept of that. I get mad if I see someone being harmful, mean, cruel, or doing something wrong, it infuriates me because we can't tolerate that behavior. So, but anyway, so I digress. So she had you arrested. They found out. They dropped the case from you.
Right.
Then, had she moved out by that time? By January, had she left you? And
So that day on January the 2nd, I know the police had took her to the airport.
yeah,
I'm guessing they're the ones who took her to the airport.
yeah,
So that was the last time I saw her.
really. And she
Right.
And you went and you said that you had a ton of evidence
Right.
about her, a lot of messages, and I don't want to go through all of them because it's a lot, but did you have like messages where she basically was where she was saying, "Hey, I need you to get my green card done," or and things like that?
It was that, but it was spun in a nice way. I didn't think twice about it.
Yeah, yeah. So she was, and no,
Oh, the
the,
one that she did say, let me see if I can find it in here. Oh, and when she was asking me to get her visa,
Mhm.
um, she was telling me to be a little bit careful. Oh, she wrote, apparently her sister and her husband were angry. They didn't want to lie on the application about her original name. And she even wrote an email for us not to submit too much information to immigration to not make the documents too complex because she didn't want to get questioned too much by immigration in their interview. And I haven't attached this email as Exhibit D.
Really? So she was hiding something already. I mean, she's obviously hiding something. And what do you mean by she didn't want to use her real name or she didn't want
I
them to?
don't know. See, I know in
Is
China
she,
you can pay people, it's, like if you want your government document to say a certain this or that, you can pay them. But I'm not, the only reason
that's
why I could
in,
think she doesn't
yeah.
want her
You,
original name shown is I'm pretty sure she has some type of past that she didn't want the government finding out.
you can look at, I mean, just so people understand this and understand what you're talking about, and I know this very well, is you could you could see photographs outside the U.S. Embassy. And there are people who sit outside the U.S. Embassy with all kinds of government forms, Chinese forms. And so you could go right there and get a birth certificate in the name you want. You could get divorce decrees. They're literally sold right outside of the U.S. Embassy
Right,
for really fake documents. So she had a different name, is what I'm assuming if she's saying that that she didn't want them to know your real name. Probably because she had
right,
been arrested for something, and if they went and did records, so they would find that she had been arrested. Um,
right.
I'm gonna backtrack a minute on this because we shouldn't overlook this. So you were arrested. I'm assuming how much money did you end up having to pay out to fight this charge of abuse?
So there was for the arrest part,
Yeah,
um, my cousin who's a lawyer,
yeah,
because he takes care of family cases for free.
yeah,
Otherwise, his charge probably would have been close to 1,800.
yeah.
I mean, I know it's not a lot, but still, it's a lot.
I think that it's a lot of money. So it's a lot of money for a lot of people. But was there any other fee? I mean, did you, how about the trial? Did he represent you during the trial or?
Well, I didn't have to go to trial
Well, I mean,
because
during the whole process of getting it.
so he represented me for the criminal aspect of
Okay.
it, but of course, he didn't charge anything.
Okay.
And it never went to trial because the prosecutor didn't believe her side of the story and just dropped the case.
How about emotionally? How did this affect you?
Oh, it was devastated because initially I didn't see it coming. And I was like, just caught me off guard. But then some of the statements she was telling, I guess they told immigration, but they're also telling the prosecutor that supposedly I tried to take away a green card and saying all this other stuff. But I'm like, I didn't even see that coming. And then it
These are
even dawned
abuse.
on me she was a liar.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. What people have to understand is there are videos on this, and even the service uses the same videos. So, threatening to take away your green card,
Yeah, yeah, she put
that's
that in
abuse.
there.
Yeah. Yelling at you or telling you that they're going to send you back home, uh, saying that they beat you or they hit you, saying that they rape you. These are all things that these are actually things that we're taught. The videos that we're taught have all of those elements in it, and they know that stuff. And so they know the trigger words to say. He said he's going to take away my green card. Boom, one. He said that he abused me and hit me and slapped me. He said he wanted to get me sent back to his country. He told me I was no good or a no account. They use those kind of triggers that we're taught to look for.
Right.
They know them. Um, I mean, just so you understand it, so everybody else knows. So yeah, and you didn't. I mean, you're blindsided by that, right?
I was blindsided. The other thing that she mentioned to them was that I pressured her into the marriage, but I'm like, no, there's a ton of messages that say otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. So she's lying in the courts, and then you have the evidence that she's pressuring you into get married to her. Did you
Right.
submit this to DHS, to USCIS?
Yeah, so
Everything?
I
Yeah.
submitted it to the Houston. Let me pull it up. I'll tell you who I submitted to.
Uh, the Houston office. Is that where you're at? Are
Uh,
you
yeah, I live in Houston.
USCIS?
I'm gonna give you exact details
Yeah.
right now who I spoke with. This was
Okay.
Carrie Law, the Assistant Chief Counsel, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and this was in the Houston office.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So you didn't send anything to Vermont,
To who?
the Vermont Service Center,
Oh,
VAWA.
for the fraud?
Yeah, for the VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act, the fraud. See, the only place, and this is for you just to understand, and I hate to say this, the only place that can handle VAWA is Vermont Service Center. So
See, I
the
didn't know
Houston
that.
office doesn't do anything with it. They don't they can't even touch it. So uh, the place to send it for future reference to you or anyone else is that you've got to send the if you have evidence of this kind of lying and you have to send that um, to Vermont. Now, the other thing you could do is send it to Homeland Security investigations now, especially the stuff that you have dealing with her being a prostitute. Because if she lied about the prostitution, which is a ban in a bar, she shouldn't have, they can take away her stuff right there if they want to. Um, they can put her in proceedings. It's more than 10 years. She's running right at the limit of that, but it's still they could still withhold her green card if I mean her citizenship if she hasn't gotten citizenship yet.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so it's devastating. I just can't imagine you're not ready for this at all. And
Right.
how long did this nightmare go on from you? From the time that she ran away and left you and you never saw her again, how long did you have to fight this? The
So the first half of the year was the criminal part. The
Yeah,
second half of the year was getting the annulment, which was, I believe it was December 23rd, 2015.
okay. Okay, so you did now you went and got an annulment through
Right.
the courts because of the evidence that you provided.
Right.
Was it did they find that did it say in the annulment why you were getting an annulment? Were there any specific words in that? I mean, did they talk about the fraud, the immigration fraud, or any of that stuff?
Yeah. Actually, I have, let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, they did talk about it.
Okay.
They, okay, I got the decree of annulment. Says the court finds that the respondent denied into the marriage in good faith, but rather to improperly obtain an immigration benefit from petitioner.
Okay.
The court finds that the petitioner was induced to marry the respondent by her false representation. Finds that the representations were known to be false to respondent at the time of making.
Yeah. So that's a year of just devastation, I think. I mean, you
Right.
got to fight a criminal case, then you got to go through this with her. Did she come to court, or did you ever have to see her in court for either the annulment? Did she fight the annulment at all?
No, so we my lawyer had sent her I forget what it's called, but they mailed her, they made sure that she got the letter indicating, that I was filing for an annulment. So she had a chance to show up to court, but she never did.
Okay. Um, yeah, that's crazy. And then did she? Yeah, you said you had an immigration attorney. Did you ever reach out to the immigration attorney again after all this started, or?
I don't believe I did. So
Mhm.
I had the immigration attorney to file for the K-1 visa, but
Yes.
then as far as the getting the annulment as well as submitting a document to DHS or initially USCIS, but they didn't act on it. So I tried to find someone from DHS. The lawyer who did my annulment, she was also an immigration attorney. So she helped me with trying to get
Oh,
her busted. So she did both the annulment
yeah.
and the
That's
immigration part.
amazing because usually they don't want to touch them because they're afraid they're going to mess up their business with the immigration sites. How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
You're doing good
Totally forgot about all this.
until I came along.
Yeah.
So at least you were successful in getting out of it and not, but you still got the criminal record, right? I mean, there's still something on you for being,
Oh
you
no,
still
it
have an
was
arrest record, right?
oh no, there's no record. So they dropped the only thing that when they drop it, the only thing that shows is the arrest part. So
Yeah.
I
No, no,
had
that's what I'm saying
my
is
same
still,
attorney get rid of the arrest portion because the family they did it for free, so it doesn't even show I was arrested. There's nothing
oh,
on my
good. They,
record.
what that's called is they get an
Yeah,
expungement.
an expungement for the
Yeah.
arrest part.
Yeah. You're lucky to get that because most people don't get that. Most people
Right,
don't get things expunged. And so that's on your record forever and you don't even know it.
right.
It's disgusting. I'm sorry. Um, but do you have anything else you want to add or
Well, the only thing I like to add is she wasn't acting alone. She had her sister and who was married to a much older guy.
Yeah.
And I have some suspicions about that, but she also made in the chat messages. Her and her sister were involved in some QQ group,
Hmm.
and I'm sure there was quite a few people, and I'm not the only US citizen that was duped. And I
Yeah.
have all that in the chat messages.
Oh, really? Yeah. So you got information that they were doing this for other people as well.
Yeah, but they spend it as in a nicer way, like, it's for love, blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
looking back, I was like, no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No. And you said you had stuff on her for you did some you got someone to do some research and you found
Right,
out evidence that she was a prostitute, that she was
right.
being a prostitute. And you still have that evidence today?
Oh, yeah, I got everything. I have everything in two documents,
Oh, wonderful. Um,
or two reports, I mean, but
okay. And so she was a prostitute. Uh, and you said immediately after she got here, she left and went somewhere else to you think her brother-in-law and her sister's house. And she,
right, that's what I'm thinking.
now you don't really know if that's brother-in-law. I'll be honest, and people should understand this is that in other cultures and even in the Chinese culture, it's not uncommon for them to call people their uncle or their brother, and it not really be their brother, it not really be their sister. It's just a something they use. Uh, their brother in name only, or uncle in name only, or brother-in-law in name only. I'm not saying that that's not true, that they weren't really married, but it is common to call someone your brother. A lot of African culture is the same way. You're my brother, you're my sister, even though you're not biologically. It's just the way they approach each other. You're my uncle, but you're not really my uncle. You're my nephew, but you're not really my nephew. It's just terms that they use. It's extremely confusing. Um, but also in China, I know they do that as well. You use the
Right.
brother, uncle, and we don't know that. But you said the brother-in-law and the sister owned a restaurant in where?
In Michigan. It's
Oh,
the brother. Well, my understanding is just the brother-in-law that owns the
it's
restaurants
just
in
the brother-in-law
Michigan.
that owns it. Okay. And did you ever go to the restaurant?
No, I never been to Michigan.
You never been to Michigan? Okay. You don't. I don't think. Well, I don't want to say anything about Michigan. We gotta love Michigan. So
Yeah.
that's it. But it's cold up there. Um, I've been up there. Some good people. It is a nice place. That's uh, well, I think I've got a good story. I think I really appreciate it, and I'm going to talk to you a few minutes about your stuff after this. But
Okay.
I think we've got a good story. I thank you for letting me get your story. I know it's kind of brief. Hopefully, we got enough information that will at least inform people. And I like the fact that a lot of these are, the amazing thing is these are almost repetitive in some way.
Right.
What's going on. So, all right.